Good morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of microwaves and antennas. So, in the previous session, we discussed regarding interelectrode capacitances in a vacuum tube. Then we discussed regarding the working and the mechanisms and the mode of oscillations with respect to a reflex klystron, which is a single cavity klystron, what we have discussed. Then we saw what are the different modes of oscillation and how the oscillations are actually generated with the help of the RF field which is present and the noise which is present in this cavity due to the DC supply what is provided to the cavity. We also observed that another important parameter that there are different modes of oscillations available. So here, what does this modes of operations indicate is here modes are decided by the maximum output which is made available by the bunching of the electrons. So it is dependent on the cavity grid voltage, which is the RF field, that is interaction of the electrons which are passing through this cavity, that is this cavity which are passing through this cavity. There is a possibility that they can interact with the highest value, that is the positive peak, and they can interact with the lowest one with the negative peak, and in between also they can interact. And due to the repeller plate, what happens is in the repeller space they get repelled back and get bunched at one point. Now here, if the bunching happens at the positive peak, I'll be getting the maximum output. If bunching happens apart from this positive peak, so somewhere here or anywhere, what happens is you'll be getting a output which is very less in power as compared to that which is which we are getting at the positive peak of the interaction. So here we try to get the maximum output by seeing that bunching occurs at the positive peak of this signal. So in this way, what happens is I can have multiple peaks. If I continue, right, there can be multiple peaks. Now where this interaction is happening, it decides which mode the klystron is operating. So therefore, we have different modes. We represent it as one is capital N and another one we use as lowercase n. So n can have value of starting from 0, 1, 2, and so on. So if I'm referring to this lowercase n, so the lowest mode is 0, the next mode is 1, next mode is 2. But when we deal with capital N, right, it is indicated with n plus 3 by 4. It is indicated with n plus 3 by 4. So if you just see if n is equal to 0, the first mode which is possible is 3 by 4. The next mode which is possible is 1 plus 3 by 4, which we write. Sorry, the network went down. So we can have based on these lowercase n values, right? If n is 0, I'll be getting 3 by 4. If n is 1, I'll be getting 1 plus 3 by 4, which is represented as 1 3 by 4. Then I'll be having 2 3 by 4 and so on. But what happens is getting the output at the first mode, that is the lowest mode. So when I'm referring to capital N, right, it is 3 by 4 mode, which is the lowest, or if I'm referring to the lowercase n, it is the 0th mode. So here what happens is getting this mode is very difficult. That is, bunching at this point is very difficult. So generally, theoretically, this is the lowest mode, but practically the lowest mode is 1 3 by 4 or mode 1. It is 1 3 by 4 or mode 1. So in this case, this is the 0th mode if I'm referring to lowercase n, and it is 3 by 4 when I'm referring to capital N. So this one, the next possible mode will be available at the next positive peak of this one. So if the bunching happens at this point, I'll be getting 1 3 by 4 mode. Now here another one thing to note down is depending on which mode you are operating, the output power also depends on this factor. So suppose we assume that bunching happens at mode 3 by 4. So then this output power will be higher considered to the next mode. So as the mode number keeps on increasing, say 0, 1, 2, what happens is the output power keeps on reducing. Output power keeps on reducing. So if you have to just analytically realize it, what happens is here you can see that. So from suppose if I'm considering the interaction at A. So if this electron passes through and the repeller plate is highly negative, repeller plate is highly negative, what happens is it'll immediately go back to the cavity. And in this case, right, what happens is it releases its maximum energy at this point. It is not traveling very higher distance in which it is not losing any energy, not much of the energy, but here what happens is it will lose much of the energy when it comes down. So here in this path it is losing lesser energy compared to this path because it is traveling a longer path. It is traveling a longer path compared to the other one. So because of which the power at this point also reduces. So here output power will be higher compared to the next mode. Suppose if it is 2 3 by 4, say I'll assume that it is somewhere, positive peak is somewhere here. So here what happens is this repeller plate is made less negative. So in that case what happens is the electron which interacts with this field will be traveling a little bit longer distance, and then it will be bunching at this point. It will be bunching at this point. So now here, since the traveling, this thing has increased, so it will be losing some of its energy in this case, and finally it will be releasing its all its kinetic energy in this cavity. So here what happens is the 2 by 3 mode output power will be reduced as compared to the previous modes. That is 1 3 by 4 and 3 by 4. So this is what is happening. So this is another one thing to note down when we are dealing with klystron. Now here the maximum modes generally possible is around 4, because you can have only two things, that is one is mechanical tuning by adjusting the repeller plate. I cannot have a distance too far because it is a physical device with some limitations. So klystron is something like a tube like structure. If you happen to observe the diagram, you can just check out in the internet. So wherein supply will be there, so here one knob will be there. Here one knob will be there. You can just rotate that knob and adjust its height. So that is nothing but adjusting this length by a fraction of meters or millimeters. So only that adjustment is possible. So I cannot have any number, I cannot have this distance too large because of the physical limitations which are present. So that is one thing, and the voltage what I apply can be limited. I cannot go for infinite amount of voltage supply which we can apply over here. So that is the beam current and the beam voltage what we were speaking of yesterday. So this is the case with respect to the modes of oscillation. Now here, when we move further, right, we have to deal with a few other aspects. That is, when all bunching will be having a maximum value. So it is all dependent on this factor n plus 3 by 4. So if n is equal to 0, bunching happens at the immediate next peak of this one, wherein the for electron had interacted with the positive peak, that is at point A. So immediately after that, whichever peak comes, if that interaction happens, I'll be getting this value. So next bunching is possible. Next bunching for maximum output is possible where after some amount, after some period. So if you just see here, after some time duration, it is available. Similarly, in the next time duration, next positive peaks comes in, next positive peak comes in. So in the next mode, the interaction can happen at this point. So if you just observe there, what we have is, if this is the time period, if this is the time period, so here we can see that T naught is specified by interaction with this reference, interaction of the reference electron with at the 0 volt. So this is considered as the reference with respect to this. This one is interacting at the positive peak with reference to this. This is interacting at the negative peak. So if I just observe here, from here to here, this distance is specified as n 3 by 4. So from this reference, if you just go, what is this? This is 1/4, half, 3/4. So it is 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, which is 3/4. So that T naught value, say if it is n is equal to 0, that is lowercase n is equal to 0, then it turns out to be 3 by 4. So here you can see that the first positive interaction happens at a time duration T naught, that is from this point, that is from 0. So from here, after T naught, I can have the first bunching occurring at the positive peak. So that is what this equation specifies. So where is the next possible peak? It is possible at the next point. So which is nothing but this will be equivalent to time period T. This will be equivalent to time period T. So whatever value is present over here, this multiplied with this will give you the interactions which are possible with respect to this point. So during the positive peak, where all interactions are possible, that is what we are looking out for. So here, if I just see, it is 3 by 4. So if next interaction, if I have to consider, which is at this point. So from here to here, what is the value? It is T. It is T, but this additional thing is there, right? So T, which will be given by the mode value, which will be given by the mode value. So if you just keep on checking for the next mode from this point, it will be 1 3 by 4 into T. Then if I go for the next point, right, it will be 2 2 3 by 4, 2 3 by 4 into T. So this will be the a time period during which I'll be getting the maximum, I'll be getting the output at the positive peak of interaction. That is, bunching is happening at the positive peak of the RF field. So this is what is happening in the modes of oscillation. So next discussion what we have is mode curve, or sometimes we call it as the pushing curve. So in this case, what we have is it is the plot of repeller voltage versus the output power. It is the plot of repeller voltage versus the output power. But this overall curve is called as pushing curve or the mode curve. So therefore, what we specify is it will be the slope. It will be the slope of F and VR graph. It will be represented by the slope of frequency and the repeller voltage graph. So we are having a repeller voltage over here and we are having the frequency over here. So the if I'm able to obtain this slope and plot it, we then term it as the pushing curve or the mode curve. So here you are trying to see what is the output power and what is the frequency which can be generated. Now here remember this voltage here, what we are taking at the other end, which is actually in the negative direction. So it will be like 0, -1, -10, and so on, say -250. So it is in the negative direction. That is, repeller voltage is negative. So that is, here you can see that negative plate is applied to this, negative electrode is applied to this repeller plate. So therefore, this voltage at this one will be always negative. It will always be negative. Now, if I assume that bunching is happening during the first positive peak, that is, during this point, bunching is happening at this point. So here you can see that if bunching is happening at this point, so we'll not compare it with the other modes. Presently, we'll just check out with this mode. So here, if we just observe where all is the possibility of interaction, say electron which is interacted at during this point, electron which is interacted at this point, and electrons which are interacting at this point. So anywhere in between. So what happens is they traverse through the repeller space, and based on the repeller voltage, VR what is applied, VR what is applied. So based on that, the bunching happens at one point. Now, if I just consider, say a repeller, when it repels back, the interactions are possible. That is bunching. Bunching can happen, say during this value, any point you consider on this, bunching can happen over here. But here, if I start from positive peak, right, which will be having the maximum representation, it will be having the maximum value. Generally, what happens is since I'm not able to get the bunching in this mode, so bunching in this mode. So from here to here, interactions are not present. That is, bunching is not present over here. Bunching will be present from this point to the other point. That is the lowest mode possible. Theoretically 3 by 4, but practically it is 1 3 by 4. So bunching is possible from this point to, it starts from this point. It starts from, say, this point. So here what happens is if the repeller voltage is highly negative, say for example, I'll specify it as, say it is minus, for example, it is minus 150. So if it is 150, I'll just take one representation over here. So when it is 150, what happens is, when it is 150, what happens is, say I'll consider this as the highly negative. So here what happens is, this electron will traverse and get bunched at, say, this point. Say at this point. Similarly, others also get bunched at the same point for 150 volt, minus 150 volt. So now what I'll do is I'll make this voltage highly negative, highly positive now. Say I'll make it minus 100. So minus 150 is highly negative, minus 100 is highly positive compared to minus 150. So now what has happened is, since it is more positive now compared to the previous voltage, what happens is these electrons are not repelled with the same force as that with minus 150. They are repelled with a lesser force when minus 100 is applied. Say, let me assume that minus 100 gives the bunching at positive peak. So here they interact at this positive peak. So say, similarly, the next one interacts at this positive peak. The next one interacts at this positive peak. Now say what I'll do is I'll make it still more positive. Say I'll make it minus 50 volt. I'll make it minus 50 volt. Now, since it is highly positive compared to the minus 100 volt, what happens is the electron will traverse a longer distance in the cavity, in the repeller space. So what happens is it traverses much longer distance, it gets repelled and gets interacted at one point. Similarly, all the electrons traverse little bit longer distance as compared to the previous one, and then they get interacted at the other point. So here what is happening? Bunching can occur here. So here we can observe that bunching can occur from this point to this point. Now here, say I am just assuming that at minus 150 bunching was appearing here, at minus 100 volt, bunching was appearing here. At minus 50 volt, bunching occurred at this point. So as the voltage repeller, if you just observe what happens is positive peak I'm getting at one point, but at the other two, what is happening is interaction is happening at a lesser point. So here the output will be very less and here the output will be very less. So that is what we can observe. So that is what is represented over here. So what is the output power? So in this case, we can see that the output power is dependent on the repeller plate. Say if repeller voltage is minus 150, bunching was occurring at this point and the output voltage was very less. So that is what I had represented. It is happening at this point and the output interaction when minus 150 volt was applied, it was occurring at the negative peak of the field which is present. So here I'll be having the output which is very less. So as the interaction keeps on moving around, that is bunching happens at this point, this point, this point, this point, that is at these values of the field. What happens is the output power keeps on increasing, keeps on increasing. And when, for example, I had taken it as minus 100 volt, so which is having the interaction with the highest positive peak. So here, say it is minus 100. So at this point, I'll be getting the maximum output. And if I continue, right? If I continue and keep on increasing the voltage, what is happening is the bunching keeps on happening. Say at this point, the bunching is possible. This point, the bunching is possible. This point, this point. So it keeps on increasing. So if bunching is happening somewhere here, this output power will be less than that when it occurred at minus 100 volt. So similarly, up to minus 50 volt, we'll be able to get. So here what happens is, so this, when I move further, so it is minus 150, this side it will be minus 50, this side it will be this will be minus 100. So at minus 100, I'll be having the maximum output. At minus 150, since the interaction is at the negative peak and minus 50, the interaction is at negative peak, what happens is the output power will be less compared to the point at this one. So this will give you the highest output power. So similarly, what happens is as I keep on increasing the as I keep on making this repeller voltage more and more positive, that is if I keep on changing it in this direction, what happens is I'll be getting different modes possible. So this is mode 1 3/4, this is mode 2 3/4, 3 3/4, and it can continue depending on the dimensions of that klystron. So here you can see that in between I'll not be able to get the output, but after some repeller this thing, what will be happening is again I'll be able to get the oscillations. We can see that again it keeps on increasing. So this is at the negative peak, this is at the positive peak, this is at the negative peak. So this is possible. Again it continues, again the next curve. So now here what happens is it is not only the repeller plate which will help in do this, but the beam electron, that is we call it as beam voltage and beam current, so which we are applying here. So this along with this combination will give me the modes. So that's why we can see that in between we are not able to get the result, that is no power is generated. It is with respect to the interaction of all these, then only I'll be able to get that output, otherwise I'll not be able to get the result. So here what is happening is here we can see that if we plot the half power points, say the plot is in dB, then I'll just check out the half power points at this point. So it will be half power points. In this case, it will be half power. It will be the half power this thing. So it will give me the bandwidth of the signals which are being generated, which are being generated. So here what happens is in the highest mode, the bandwidth is very less. in the highest mode, the bandwidth is very less, but the output power is high. If I go on checking for the other this thing, I'll be able to get more and more bandwidth, but output power will be reduced. So that is what is represented over here. And what does this imply is this axis resonant frequency at the say lowest say a negative peak interaction, I'll be getting the highest frequency value, and at the lowest point I'll be getting the lowest, and at the negative next negative peak value I'll be getting the lowest frequency. The frequency will be within this range. The frequency will be within this range. So it will be generated in the gigahertz, but the frequency will be in the range what is specified. So this is what they have specified, what is given in this one. So this again, they specify it as electronic tuning. So electronic tuning again, what does this imply? You have to tune this beam voltage and beam current. So based on that, you'll be able to alter this and say the repeller voltage. So based on that, you'll be able to estimate the you can be able to tune the range. You can be able to tune the bandwidth of the klystron oscillator. So here, what will be the RF power which is delivered to the cavity? So we had discussed this one, right? So what will be the RF power delivered to the cavity? It will be all dependent on V naught, which is the beam voltage, I naught, which is the beam current, then the repeller voltage VR, and the length, that is the distance between the cavity and the repeller plate. So what is this? It is this part. So this length L is distance between the cavity and the repeller plate. Then frequency of operation, and the charge on electrons and the mass of electrons. So the RF power which is delivered to the cavity by the electrons because of the bunching, it will be given by this equation. That is PRF is equal to 0.3986 V naught into I naught into V naught plus VR divided by 2 FL into square root of E divided by 2M V naught. There is a derivation involved in this, but in your syllabus you don't have this derivation, so we are not going through the derivation. We are just discussing the final equation. So if you want to go through this, you can refer different books. That is, you can refer say Annapurna Das. You can just check out how this equation comes on to this particular value. So this is what is happening. This is what is the power which is delivered to the cavity by the bunching of the electrons. Now here you can see that PRF is inversely proportional to the frequency. It is inversely proportional to the frequency of operation. So as the frequency, if you want higher and higher frequency, what happens is output power keeps on reducing. So that is what you can observe over here. And here you can observe that it is also inversely proportional to the length of the cavity, that is the distance between the cavity and the repeller plate. So if you keep on increasing the distance between the repeller plate, output power keeps on reducing, and vice versa. So if you observe here, we have beam voltage, beam current, and repeller voltage. So output power is dependent on all these factors also. It is here we have just taken VR, but it is also dependent on, we are just plotting and saying how it operates. We keep beam voltage and beam current constant, and we alter the repeller voltage and try to see what is the output result. So that is what we are looking out for. Okay. So this is with respect to the mode curve or the pushing curve. There are a few more equation or one or two equations which are present. So here what we have is the frequency of operation. So this equation, this is in terms of megahertz. frequency is specified in terms of megahertz, wherein the distance between the cavity and the repeller plate should be specified in centimeter. So others are in its regular, that is, this is in volts, this is not having any units. Okay. So this again, we can obtain it from one of the equations by derivations, but we are not doing it here again. So frequency of operation in terms of megahertz is given by this equation. So one thing to remember is this should be specified in centimeter, then this will be in megahertz. Okay, so don't miss out this case, because if you just miss out, then you'll be getting the wrong results. So where this capital N is nothing but it's specifying the mode, which is given by n plus 3 by 4, where this lowercase n, that is mode, is given by 0, 1, 2, and so on. So now repeller voltage as a specified. So actually with reference to this and applying some other techniques, right, we'll be ending up with this result. This equation will be ending up with this equation. So here we can observe that the magnitude of the repeller voltage is given by this equation. So here we are getting the magnitude. Here we are getting the magnitude. The repeller voltage VR is always a negative. It is always a negative voltage. Say minus 250, minus 350. We are just considering the magnitude of that value. So here also in previous equation, right? Here it is not specified as magnitude, but we will be using the magnitude value. So suppose VR is minus 250. What we'll be doing is we'll be just considering the magnitude, that is only 250 over here. Okay, because if you just cross verify the result, it should not turn into negative. So here, based on the derivation, we'll be getting this result. This VR value, only the magnitude you will be using. So this equation is utilized for obtaining the magnitude of the repeller voltage. Here it is obtained for the repeller voltage. And another thing to remember is F is it's in SI unit, and L is also is in its SI unit. That is, F is in hertz and L is in meters. Only in this equation you have to be careful. It is in SI unit, but you'll be getting the result in megahertz, and here you have to use the length in, specify the length in centimeters. Now another one equation which is important is dVr by dF, that is it is delta VR by delta F. This delta F is nothing but it is the bandwidth. Delta F is nothing but bandwidth. So if you just observe here, if this is F1 and this is F2, the difference between these two, F1 and F2, will give you delta F. So sometimes it is denoted by DF. So and here you can see that we have two voltages. Say for example VR1 and VR2. The difference between these two, VR1 and difference VR2, this will give me delta VR. That is small change in the repeller voltage, small change in the frequency here, this one and this one. So that is what we are trying to estimate over here. So this is nothing but it is like small change in repeller voltage to small change in the frequency. How they are interrelated? They are interrelated by this equation. They are interrelated by this equation. Please note down these equations, because we have to solve problems based on these. So in this case, he has given the operating frequency, which is of 10 gigahertz with the DC beam voltage of 300 volt. So we denoted it as V naught. So V naught is 300 volt, and the repeller space is zero point 0.1 centimeter. So L is 0.1 centimeter. Now what he wants is, he wants to estimate, calculate the maximum RF output power corresponding to the repeller voltage for a beam current of 20 milliamperes. So he has given beam current which is 20 milliamps. So he wants to identify PRF max. So here you can observe that repeller voltage is not given. Now if you want to identify PRF, right? If you want to identify PRF, you can just go back and check out the equation. What is the equation he has specified? The equation which is given is, it is this equation. So you can use this equation directly. No need to refer to this one, what he has used directly over here. Even this also will give you the correct results. Even this will also give you the correct results. But you can refer to this one. So here you can see that beam voltage is given, beam current is given, then he has given the operating frequency, then he has given the repeller space. So these are actually standard values. So that is the charge on the electron is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulombs, and mass is given by 9.109 into 10 raised to minus 31 kgs. So if you utilize this equation, right, you will get the result. But what is the problem? I don't know what is VR. I don't know what is VR. Now, another one parameter I just missed out. He specified that the mode is 1 3 by 4. 1 3 by 4. And practically, this is the highest mode. This is the highest mode which gives you the maximum output RF. So here, this is nothing but N, which we specify as 1 3 by 4, which is nothing but 1 plus 3 by 4, which is equal to what? 1 plus 1.75. That is, you just convert this, it is 1 plus 3 by 4, 1 plus 0.75, which is 1.75. So this is the value of N. This is the value of N. So here, what you can do is, either you can refer to this equation wherein he has directly used V naught into I naught divided by N, and he has obtained the value, that is minus 1 minus 1.365 watts. Or else what you can do is, you can first identify what is the repeller voltage. First identify what is the repeller voltage. So in this case, this is a standard value, this is a standard value. Operating frequency is known, L is given, N is known, and beam voltage is also known. So you estimate what is the magnitude of VR. And here when you're utilizing in this equation, right, F is in hertz, that is what is specified. F is in hertz and length is in meters. So it is in its standard SI format, SI units, and it is not unchanged. So you're not converting it into kilohertz or anything. So F is should be in hertz, L should be in meters. So refer to this equation and obtain the magnitude of repeller voltage. So when we estimate it, right, we get it around, magnitude is around 367. Magnitude of VR is 367. In my case, I had got it as 51 volt. slight changes depending on how many decimals you're using. Based on that, slight change you had got, but you'll be getting around 367. You'll not be getting anywhere other difference. And since we know that repeller voltage is negative, once you get the magnitude, right? Once you get the magnitude, you can just write VR is minus 367, say 0.51, or you can utilize what he has given, that is minus 367.08. So now here what we do is we can use this equation and try to obtain the result. So in when we had solved it, we had got the result around 1.366 watts. So this is what I had got, 1.366 watts. So remember here that this VR, you are not using minus, you are just using its magnitude value, 367.08 what he had got. Then this one was 300. So 300 plus this. So this is in this form. Don't put minus over here. It is 300 plus 367.08, and rest all values you substitute. So when you substitute these values, what you'll be getting is, you'll in my case I had got it as 1.366 watts because I had used a 367.51. I had used this value. So if you use this value, you'll be getting around 1.365 watts. So in both the cases, you'll be getting the same results. Whether you use the first equation, that is this equation. So in this equation, VR is unknown. So first what you have to do is you have to identify VR and then substitute that value, that is the magnitude of that VR in this equation, and obtain the result. So in which you will be getting 1.366 or 65 watts. So this is the PRF maximum value for that given mode of operation. So this is how we obtain for PRF. So in next class, I'll be discussing the example 9.2, and then I'll be moving ahead with the other parts of the microwave, wherein we'll start off with the microwave transmission lines. So this is all for today. Thank you. Any queries from